Here.
Loffman.
Here.
McMillan.
Here.
Mauer.
Here.
Wolverton.
Here.
Zaleski.
Here.
Reading of the minutes. Ms. McMillan,
I make a motion, we dispense with the reading of the minutes and place on file.
Ms. Hill,
I'll second that motion.
all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion is granted. Then we're going to move on to the reorganizational portion of the meeting. The first thing we need to do is appoint the clerk. And I got a letter here from our clerk. It says, "Dear Mr. President, as you know, I have served the city of Cambridge as clerk for 39 years. It's a job that I truly love and would like to make this letter my formal request to be reappointed again to this position for the term of January 2024 through December of 2025. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Sharon K. Kessler, MMC, Clerk of Council." So I need a motion to approve the reappointment of clerk. Mr. Zaleski,
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Wolverton,
I'll second that motion.
all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion is granted. Appointment of clerk as designee, and I'm going to call on our clerk, our newly appointed, reappointed clerk, to explain it, because I have no idea.
Well, some of you will recall, many years ago, the state legislature enacted a bill that requires all elected officials to attend required training with regards to open records and the public records law. But they did put a caveat in there that you could name a designee, and traditionally that has been me, because we do those at my clerk's conferences. And if you do this by legislation, then it allows you to not have to go and attend those trainings. I'm the one that deals with the records anyway, so it just makes sense, and we kind of lobbied for that with the state legislature, my clerks association, so that it makes more sense since we're the ones that deal with it. So to keep you all legal, you just need to name me the designee, and then I will take the training and you'll be trained.
My kind of training, right there. Mr. Vancho,
Yes, I'll make a motion to assign Sharon Castler as our designee.
Mr. Wolverton,
I'll second that motion.
all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion is granted. Appointments of committees. So this is my job. We'll go with the finance committee first. The chairman will be Mr. Vancho. Members will be Mr. Loffman and Ms. McMillan, and the alternative will be Mr. Wolverton. City Services, the chair is Mr. Wolverton. Members are going to be Ms. Hill, Mr. Mauer, and the alternative will be Mr. Zaleski. Legislative
Can you
chair.
hold on just 1 second there?
Sure.
I'll provide you all with a copy of this.
Okay, alternate on that was,
Mr. Zaleski. The
Okay.
Okay, legislative. The chair would be Ms. Hill. Members will be Mr. Zaleski and Mr. Wolverton. The alternate will be Mr. Mauer. Nod when you're ready.
good.
Board liaison for the park will be Ms. McMillan. CIC representatives will be Mr. Evancho and myself. And President Pro Tem will be Mr. Loffman. Put this back. Okay, and now we'll move on with the regular meeting and to the mayor's request. Mayor Orr.
Didn't write fast enough.
Good afternoon, council. It's that time. It's after the first of the year, and last year didn't slow down any. This year's been a bit different, if not a little bit worse so far. But I have our normal stuff, and then I'm going to roll into the year-end reports. Does that sound fair?
Sounds fair.
Okay, first thing up on our short sheet, I have the following request to go with whatever's pending already. Number one, request from the engineer to vacate the alley east of East 8th Street between Wheeling Avenue and Brown Avenue, which is this Amos Way out here. There's a discussion on that. along with the new business that wants to go into in the old former Jeffersonian building. 2, request from the fire department, A, to accept and appropriate $1,440 from 2024 Marks Grant to fire miscellaneous. And B, permission to enter into contract with Cambridge Township for emergency protection. I believe Sharon's got a paper on that. 3, request to go into executive session for discussion on personnel. And that would be after the year end.
Okay, the first one will go to committee as a whole. The A and B of number 2 will go to finance, and we'll hold off on the executive session.
Okay, you've been sent electronically, I understand, year-end reports. Most of you have either looked at it or at least are aware of it. And I will start out with saying, I'm going to skim through this as much skimming as ever been skimmed, but dig into it, be aware of it. This is your pattern, what's going on out there. If you have any questions, all my department heads are more than willing to, in fact, they enjoy that kind of stuff. And that's the way it's been in the past. And I mean, they kid me sometimes. I have them come in one year and then I do it the following year. But so getting off the start here, right off the get-go, we got the safety departments and public safety under Rocky Hill last year. And of course, there's been a change there. There will be an intern, Mark Baker, I've been assigned. I did not renew Rocky at the end of this last year. That'll happen in the last 5 or 6 days. So we'll more forthcoming on that. But into the report, our very fine report. And real quickly, most of the fire and police stuff are in the fire and police reports as far as specific personnel and what changes went on there. Rocky wore a lot of hats as far as board meetings and different things and watching over the building and different things. And that will continue under the safety directors and service director once I get my service director back from his knee surgery. So that's been quite interesting. We are heading into a new era of leadership. Some of you have been at some of these, but we had the retirement of our police chief, Mark Delancey, effective January 11th, 2024, which is still ongoing. And the assistant fire chief, Tim Milner, retired December 19th, 2023, up the fire station. So that was 2 significant things there. We were able to budget and properly conduct needed promotional exams, so these transitions have been fluid in the process. Normally, they leave, and then you have to have a test, and you have a gap, and you have a lot of things like that. And quite honestly, I want to give kudos to all those involved there. We have volunteers on the Civil Service Commission, and just a lot going on there. With the retirement of Tim Milner, we needed a new assistant chief, and then that person will be Scott Elliott. Fire Captain Troy Hilton, Fire Engineer Brian Voorhees, Fire Dog Hallie, which is all new up there, entry-level firefighter Hunter Sofka, EMT. And again, we're going to morph into that area as we continue to get the levy funds in there. With the impending retirement of Mark Delancey, today in council chambers here, we had a record crowd. Police chief will be William Peoples. Police captain will be Tim Ferguson. Police lieutenant Zach Wolf, and police sergeant Dustin Gurdahl. And that took place here today, and that was just really a nice ceremony. Appreciate all the work that everyone did to get to that point. Again, he helps out with code enforcement, and there's always been a little bit from the police department, a little bit from safety department, and that's ongoing change as we go forward. There'll be some slight changes there, and that's ongoing in my departments. 2023, we had some unplanned issues with the buildings, and we're still refereeing this crazy elevator. It's all done and ready except for the control panel. Well, without that, you're not going anywhere. And that was hard. I was talking to the clerk today. When we have these ceremonies here, we do end up with 1 or 2 handicap, and it's just really rough. And that bless their heart, they battled all the way up through there and sat there. We had some other continuous issues with the administration building. little things just chasing around, but municipal court, unfortunately, we've had some things there. For new as that building is, we shouldn't have. But I met with the incoming judge just last week, and I brought Mark with me up there to make sure we're on task, picking up where we left off to continue to get some of this stuff ironed out. With magistrate listing, there were some things, and then that kind of ended different. You just never know how these things are going to be, and we're playing through it would be the best way to put that. Next up is we have the fire with Chief Deeks. That report, again, well done there, and the things I grabbed out of it. Thanks to our citizens for the EMS levy, Cambridge Township Fire Levy was renewed, and our 2 fire levies. So all those things were conducted real well. You're going to be talking in-house about, you'll see the contract with the township. Sharon's got that right now, and that'll be coming up in the next committee meeting, and we're real happy about that partnership there. They had 548 fire runs in the city. On emergencies, which is like an ambulance type thing, they had 1,531. I thought that was interesting. Township, 348, mutual aid, 17. In December of 2023, Assistant Tim Milner retired, and he will be missed. 3 people were promoted, which I've already read to you about that. And the 2 things I thought was interesting, and your body had a lot to do with this, we were able to maneuver fiscally sound into buying a couple used ambulances to get this thing. They're already on site, and this body enabled the administration to move forward, and the old Smith Grass property belongs to us already, and that's huge to have that already. Now, there'll be some forthcoming, remodeling going on and different things will be going on, and that's some stuff we'll be weighing out in this fiscal year. And then up here it said, I can't say enough, and this is Chief Deeks, how fortunate I am to work beside such important organization, assistance they provide to myself. And the community focused, and he's talking about the union and 910. And that's a pretty thorough report. The numbers, there's a pie chart on the second page. It kind of gives you a breakdown of stuff. And again, I've told you in the past, and most of you have done this from time to time, feel free to dig in as you go forward. Next up, I believe, is property code enforcement, Kim Conrath. I tend to get a little excited here over the years. I'm going to try to refrain from doing that tonight. But again, we mowed 508 times at the cost of $22,040. So you picture that and just let it grow, and what would that look like? Coordinated spring and fall cleanup, which is huge. We get the tires in the spring, and if we don't mess with those, they end up stuck somewhere we don't want to see them, and that's just a sad way of life. But we do bust a group from time to time, and we have pinched it. That's gotten better, and I appreciate all the law enforcement, and again, yourselves help us catch that stuff. Fires within the city, we had 4 major ones, 3 of which I feel is fairly under control. We're still having trouble with the one on Oakland. The owner's not really been, we've been told there's insurance, but we're not doing real well right now. So that's where our focus is going to be going in the next 2 weeks. The old holidays got in the middle there, and I'm not real happy about that. But we're luckily finally tearing down these other things that we worked on for over a year and a half. Demolitions within the city, and you've seen a lot of that in just the last week. Those things were supposed to go about a month and a half ago, but nothing ever goes off when it's supposed to, it seems like. But it is going, so that's a good thing. The land bank has been a huge partnership with the county. Those 9 demolitions, and the county's been gracious to let us to kind of be really involved in that and run a lot of which way that goes. And Cambridge, Byesville, Cumberland, Quaker City, and that we would have never got that property down there on the corner out of there had there not been a land bank. That was over $50-some thousand. And I don't know about you, but when I look over there now, it's like, wow, how bad, I mean, that really changed some things. The towing program, which, why we run a towing program, property code, I don't know, but we have to do something, and we've worked with the police, and I've talked to the new chief, and that's going to be pushed back the other way a little bit, and we're going to have more. But with that said, 27 vehicles were literally towed last year, which is not a ton, but that's a lot when you think about there just been, a lot of times these have been sitting there year, 2 years. And I just spotted one just the other day tucked down here, 4 flat tires hit in behind a building. And these are things, when you see that, please let us know and we'll check it out. Because could be dope, could be bad activity with family members, could be some other kind of, someone stole the vehicle and planted it and took off down there. There's some strange events goes on out there. And we're going to continue to work a little bit more aggressively in that. And I think there'll be some more information forthcoming, and I'll let the chief talk about that with the way he's going to start watching the 2-hour parking and different things. Working with the municipal court, Kim does a lot of things. It may not be exactly in that department, but she's helped us close on real estate. She has a different set of skills there. It's very, very helpful. And I want to thank her for that. And then we'll move from there, and the rest will be in that. Next up, we have Brandon Hines, Economic Community Development. I want to take a minute before I get into the report and just say I'm glad he's okay right now, if you didn't know it or not. The night before we came back to work, Monday, he fell down the steps at his home and broke his leg, both bones, and he's out for 3 weeks. So we've had quite a scene of events around here as the last 7, 8 days. But with that said, he's in phone contact on a computer. He's just as wound up as he was when he had two legs under him. Real quick, 2021 CHIP grant, 222 allocation grant, building demolition revitalization grant for $275,000. One thing this group has done, they've morphed into some other areas to get some grant money, which is a good thing because the CHIP grant didn't quite work out like they wanted it to this year. But they've got plenty to keep them really busy. Melissa's just joined the group. The LLC that we had, and you'll have some more information on that to get Kim back in there hot. Evelyn did fully retire, and we're going to still ask that we keep Kim around just a little bit, some hours, to continue to ease through that, to make sure Brandon gets all the set of skills, things. He needs that reference point still. And when you got that kind of ability around, if they're willing to do that, we'd be foolish to let that slide. In my opinion anyhow. That lead grant, that 2024 high lead grant for $390K, that's a one of a kind, and that's going to be something they'll be refereeing. So in a way, I'm kind of glad they do have some things to keep them really busy. And some of the situations that needed some of the CHIP help need the lead help. So we're still helping, and that's huge. And again, I just want to take a minute to say thank you to Evelyn King. Many years, met different mayors, and it was nice the way that kind of came down. At the same time, it's a change when you step aside like that. New employees, again, Melissa Swingle was hired in April of 2023, and right now she's the sole operator down there. And I, had a little talk with her this week, and she's doing a real nice job, and she's running back and forth to Brandon, and they're getting through all that, so. And again, the rest of the report, and he'd be more than welcome to walk you through things later on. Police Department, there's always a lot of activity in the police department. Again, Chief Peoples as of today, but officially on paper for the next few days, Mark Delancey's still the chief. Mark, we had a little get-together for him there about a week to go, and one thing he said I wanted to relay, he said he just wants to thank the city of Cambridge for enabling him to have the fine career that he had, and raise his family, and he appreciates and he really respects. And just hear that come out like that, it was nice to hear. He did the police academy, some of you people are all involved in. That was one of his big things he came out with, and there were some good things there. But he's definitely ready to go, and he said so, and out the door he went. So, and as Chief People says, it felt like he's running twice as hard last year. Chief People said he wanted to take a moment to thank Kristen Knisley at the desk. At one point, she was the last dispatcher. They lost 4 down there last year. And she took all the extra stuff as a TAC officer without complaint, stood in there, and they now have that fully staffed, and it's going as well as he's ever seen it. They've got a couple people going to be coming in as policemen Ethan Parsons just came through the academy, and he's on his way in. And we just hired Stephen Keene, and he was a lateral transfer. Actually, there was two, and only one survived that. Of course, we all know about that too, but we won't get into that. And he just wants to take a moment to commend the officers because they worked a ton of overtime this last year for issues they did not create, but it was what it was. And they deserve a thank you for reflection of their hard work. The one thing he wanted to take a minute to thank council and the, whatever I am, executive vice president, but the Axon body cameras, we got the really good cameras now. I remember when we first got cameras, I felt excited about that, but they quickly became not so good. And then we went through a small period of time where unfortunately they weren't being used hardly at all. And that had to stop, and they did. But they got the good stuff now, and everybody's happy. Bill Ferguson even wrote in and said how great he liked that. So that's good when they have to go to court and different things. In this report, it tells about the officers, who staffs. There's 20 sworn officers currently, and I've talked to Mark about that, and we need to find a way to attract a few more. Again, we just gave them a $3 an hour raise. Your body did that, and we're hoping that have a positive impact. Time will tell. Stay tuned. There's the bad stuff down in there, the 45 assaults, the 276 thefts, the 53 domestic violences, the 4 felonious assaults, 853 traffic stops, 80 felony drugs, 61 narcotics. We all know it can be bad out there, and we're just glad that we have a force that we have and in a little town we have, and we want to keep it as safe as we can. The canines, nice to have them. They had one of them retire this year, and that's an important part of what we have going on here. The SWAT only was activated once last year, and unfortunately, it wasn't a very good situation. And sorry to the families to have to go through all that, but again, we had to be ready for what we had to be ready for, and thankfully, they were able to do that. So next, we move to our service departments, public service and street, which that would be Tom Lanning and the gang. Tom's reports, usually when you look at it, it's kind of bland, but when you really put it to work, it's everything out there. Pick a place you don't see a street department truck roll, and Friday morning, you see him go up the street and take all the trash out, all the dumpsters. Truthfully, the vendors should help there in the big picture, but we learned many moons ago, it's just best to take care of it. Because if not, it would overflow and blow in the street, and we'd have some extra activity, which we sometimes get kind of crazy. But I thought the interesting thing in this thing, he has such a mix of talented individuals, and the new vac truck purchase in 2023, you might have seen a picture or two of that. It burns 50 gallons, for an 8-hour shift, it burns 50 gallons of diesel fuel. That's crazy. 2 vacuum trucks running with dirt leaf pickup. 3 vacuum trucks will be on the street. So you can get an idea what that costs. Fuel cost in 2023 was $54,000. Then you get into asphalt, which goes up like the stock market, or sometimes down, or most of the time it goes up. Asphalt materials in 2023 was $70,000 at $82 a ton. And concrete is $36,000. Snow and ice control. Now, last year we didn't get called out a ton, but we got stuck with all the salt. You have to put the order in a year in advance. But the tarp cost $1,200 to get ready to go to, and you think you could reuse it. But as it sits on there and locks up and the sun beats on it and you go to pull it off, it rips holes in it. And they use parts of it, but it's never the same. Now, already they've been out a little bit this year, the other day, but it wasn't much. Luckily, it kind of went around. Spring cleanup, they're real active in that. And then, like, we have a very difficult situation. A lot of times the street department may be called out, and they'll help us pick up some stuff with the court workers. And that's become a very active part of what we do. This compost facility, we had a struggle last year. We had to lock it up. We are looking at the possibility, and I hear this as the possibility that we may have a couple evenings we'll actually staff somebody for a couple, 3 to 4 hours and post it. and our people will be able to go in there and drop their own limbs. We never had trouble with that, but when it grew, it literally got completely out of control. When we locked it up, we come to find out, and we had proof of it. We had trucks coming off the interstate from Newcomerstown, from Port Washington. They just knew that they could loop through Cambridge and drop them logs off and go, and they were billing these people. And meantime, it cost $30,000 more this year just pushing that stuff around down there. And that doesn't count the $50,000 a year before that caused the shutdown. So just give you a little insight on how we got to where we were. But people were patient, and they put the stuff out by the edge of the road and made a phone call, and our people came and got it on when they could get it. And we didn't get very many complaints on that, and that's saying something, because I really thought, oh boy, here we go. And it's good when I'm missing stuff like that. Cemetery, James Green. James, I can see him standing here right now. James, if you're out there, you know you really want to be here right now. They poured 71 foundations. You know, that's something not every cemetery really does. They go out there and dig and maintain that stuff. He met with the veterans a couple times. The veteran cemetery out there, second to none out there. The revenue from Northwood Cemetery was $197,568.30. And they received $72,650 for burials, another $10,700 for foundations. Lot sales accounted for another $69,296, and a $36,000 in crypt and niche sales. Now, that's a lot of money, but at the same time, it takes a ton of money to keep a staff of 4 people out in there. Well, he's got it in his budget for that fourth one. And there's some ongoing changes that's going to take place there. James tells me that he's going to be coming here at some point, and I'll be standing here with him. We're going to have some rule changes out there that we're going to look at. But without any, you know, that blacktop we did out there this last year, I mean, that place just took off to the highest level. There's just not a finer cemetery out there. The trees that run the avenues. And with that said, and this is not in a morbid type way, but a lot of people went out and bought a spot. They know they want to be there. Well, that's a good thing, but it's also somewhat of a bad thing because we're running out of room as you look to the 5 and 10 years plan. We have walked the valley and looked at some things, and there are some potential issues. But as we move, and this is coming from me, not James, hypothetically, I want to get the duck pond dredged at some point, move some of that soil out in there, and start working on some things to start build some things up like we once did with the softball fields. And that's, you've heard me kind of mention some of this, and we're getting dangerously close to the opportunity. But we still got some work to do there. And he wrote that in his report. The cemetery is almost capacity for burials, and we're looking to expand this year. That's his way of pushing me, but I get all that. All roads in the cemetery were milled and new asphalt put down. And we could have piecemealed that, and we've done an incredible job, and he has. But by doing that the way it is and the way that's protected, I think it'll be with us for many years. And there was a couple of shallow areas where the new burials take place, and it was just getting really bad. So, again, kudos to all of them out there. James is flirting with the idea of looking to the future, and we've got some ideas, and I'll keep you updated on how that'll flow. Engineering with Nick Cunningham, and you can only imagine the report that he put out. And since he's given you a full earful on many occasions, I think you're up to date. But feel free to pull it off. And when I look at the sheer numbers that group maintained and as much as Paul did before and everybody else, without question, and I've been here 14 years, the last 2 years have been the strongest in the history that anything I've ever seen. I mean, wrapping up Steubenville Avenue, November 9th, and most people thought it was done long before that, but it wasn't. Of course, we immediately, one of them lights getting knocked out was $10,000. I mean, and we're working on that. We got the individual with that. But, and then we settled with that lawsuit mess on Clark Street. And finally, and I drive down through there with pride now. The cement's done, the poles are in. It just feels good knowing someone went out and refocused. That little lady that lived up on the corner, you know, she got that corner finally fixed in there, and then you go down and a couple of the tear downs and different things, and the house has got remodeled. People picked it up a notch. and it just took a little surge. Now, there's still things to work on, but again, Nick really laid it all out here, and for this upcoming year, most of you know this, but I think it's important to at least mention it. We got the water reservoir, he's raising money on that for that raw water line, that's gonna be a huge thing. And that's actually gonna happen and actually get done in 2025. The big thing's gonna be the north end water line. He got a grant for that again, I know you remember, but I'm gonna say it again. $3,800,000. I mean, you get a grant for that, that's just incredible. And I know in my heart, had he not researched one after that as hard as he would, we just wouldn't have had it. I mean, we keep her, it's just really kudos to all that. 10,000 OPA water distribution equipment grant. North Fifth Street's gonna get a brand-new culvert, you've heard of talking about that. He was in there talking today, that's about ready to be let out, that's 59,000. Claremont Avenue, the safe routes to schools, you know, we got back into that, and that's 50,000. That's outside money. I thought it was interesting this year, we opened up the sidewalk program again. It's always been around, but some years people don't seem to respond to it too much. They just was beating down the door this year. We did 9 of them for 25,000, and our share of that was 12,700, and they kicked in the other half. And that's motivated individuals that see things going on around and they want to be a part of something. And that just gets me to think about Lahode right now. It's not on any report, but over here on the viaduct side, over there, he came in, he flat told us. He said, I'm gonna go to the bid, buy the Frisbee, and I'm gonna knock it down on my money and put it up for sale. Just thank you to the city. They see what we're trying to do out around here. And those are partnerships that are built through what we've done. And those things are huge. And I just want to say thank you to everybody involved in that, and definitely him. But that's Nick Cunningham's stuff, and then Nick told me tonight, he said, any questions, just have him get a hold of me. And so I just say thank you on that. Moving into the next one up, Park Department, Tim Gibson. Timmy did something a little different than I'm used to doing, but I kind of liked it. He actually went month by month. And he does come into his 10 o'clock meeting with a little cue card of what he wants to talk about, and I really like the way he pushes on a few things. But again, we forget all these things because it was early in the year. The flat roofs at the Armory, we were able to work and help from the administration to fix it. Marty Matthews fixed all 6 basket strainers and motor bases and water valves at the park. He did that with his own ability. If you had to hire that kind of stuff out, I'd hate to see where we'd be. And I jumped through February, March, and April, a lot of maintenance issues. But in May, they hosted the Arbor Day tree planting. I want to hit that for a second. And I put that down, and I told Sharon last year I was going to contact the tree commission for a report, and I forgot. But Bridget Todd and Sue Cowden and the staff out there, what they've done out there trees-wise is just off the charts. And of course, every time they ask me, I just say plant more trees. So they don't have no problem with me. But down on First Street, Gomber Avenue, they went this year. They hit a couple that got run over by cars. And then the Arbor Day in the park, we've been able to have memorial trees where people buy a tree for a loved one, come out, and I can't begin to tell you how that impacts things. And those people are willing to serve and participate. Musco Lighting Girls Softball Field in partnership with the schools. The tennis court refurbishing, that was huge. It's just a little byline in there, but I'm gonna help you out. That was 7 years of my life messing around with that. The pickleball courts, you know, in the middle of all that, they show up and they're like, well, we want the same thing they got. They won theirs in 2 months. Now, luckily, we were able to deliver some things, and there's some things going on in the community. I don't know if we're gonna have a pickleball world championships eventually or what, but we'll just stay tuned. Hotel tax, it all works. We'll deal with it. We're still in the middle of, not in the middle, but McFarland Stadium switched to the bus garage. We've done a survey out there in the old bus garage, and there's some old alleys and things. You'll be hearing about that down the road, but it's all good. We have the keys, and we're in there messing around. Marty's cleaning some ducks at the Armory. There's a little bump in the road with a truck in the middle of everything. We're working on that too. He got 2 new John Deere Gators, and I flagged that because that's really huge. I mean, for years, equipment tires run off down the street, and we pushed it down the hill, and he never had that kind of stuff, never. And the cemetery might get one, or the street, but for him to be able to figure out the financial control of the park board and how they did that, and I know that's just huge. The ice skating rink's ongoing out there, hopefully that's working out. They're really desperately trying to wrap up the 501(c) tax exempt status. They were supposed to have a meeting today, and there was an emergency with the girl that helps Bill, and the meeting got moved again, so you'll hear about that, Kim. But it's ongoing, and it is going to happen. It's going to happen. But that'll be big. So next up, Utilities Department, Debbie McKee. And Debbie simply says it this way on one sheet. Come see if you need anything. They work with anybody. They offer a variety of payment options. She loves the drive-up window, and that place just rolls over there. Jill Stevens retired July 31st. After 17 years, we want to wish her good luck out there. We miss her. A new little girl, Tiara Karsten, joined us, and she's doing a great job, and we were able to get her in there early enough to help train and work from there, and made a big difference that way. The average, they collected $630,000 in water collection bills. They handled 3,513 clients. I thought that was just interesting facts there. And there's a lot brewing below the surface. I want to mention Suzuki Black, many years of service out there. He handles a lot of things out on the curb. But we're talking with the county on some things. You'll be hearing some things maybe down the road on that. I don't know. But they're working as we speak backstage on the wording that's going to be said, and then transfer it down there, and they'll strike a few things out. We'll go from there. We're as close as we've ever been to have some, putting some things together, and we'll see how that plays out. Environmental, water, and sewer. I want to break that down. Lou Thornton is over water and sewer internally for the administration to referee the permitting and the EPA and so many things. Floodplain, water treatment, wastewater treatment, storm sewer policies, and these things are never leaving. I mean, it's just incredible some of the stuff they get into out there, and Lou has to go around and check all that stuff out. But then as we get into the more fine tuning, we have water distribution with Brian Starr. He's our level 4, and Sean Kirkbride's our level 3. Those two gentlemen together with everybody else down there, they kind of put the reports together. And that, like I said, Lou put all that, the first phase together, and then we move into Brian Starr, Sean Kirkbride, and then you got Dallas Green, Kevin Lenzo, Tommy Newhart, Dave Whittle, and then we have a vacant position that's being posted as we speak. The water treatment plant, and there's a really nice brochure on all what goes on there. It's huge. And then we roll into the water crew, which is out on the street, and that's headed by Cody Kafuri. And then we get into the sewer division, and that's Chris Jamiel, who's the supervisor down at the plant. And then Jeff Huff is out on the crew. He's your guy out there. So there's a lot of moving parts as you get into different things like that. And then we have Bart and the gang. There's a picture in there. Bart's in every one. He's our mechanical on-site thing. Or else he just looks at pickettation, which I know is not true. But I had to crank him on that. But them guys are busy, and that's a huge part. You know, people say, well, what's most important? Well, if the toilet don't flush, it's pretty important. If the water don't come through the faucet, that's pretty important. Somebody's robbing your house, they're pretty important. You got a fire, they're pretty important. So, you know, it's all important, I guess. So you just kind of go with that. So we get out all of that, and we run into elected officials, the auditor. I don't know if Connor did this to me on purpose. I've been having little tricky parts with my eyes, and he submitted a really nice report. And I've tried a ton of different things, and I can't get there. But I got you, Connor, on this. I did mark down. Basically, he started out with saying, congratulate Sue Ellen on her retirement. So let's just not kid each other. That was a big earth-moving effect thing down there. At least it was to me. After 24 years she was here. She was a big part of hand-feeding me in the beginning, along with Sharon and a couple of select individuals. And now to see that change, it's neat and also different. I got to tell you, the kid he goes after it down there. He's a typing away and checking on stuff. He stays in that chair better than anything I would do. But anyhow, he's insurance committee. They were able to negotiate another 2% when they had some zeros in the past. I'm going to install myself back in there again, or my representative, along with Connor, to make sure we continue to work in that for a little while, to make sure we keep that insurance committee on task with the unions and things. Over 5,800 checks for payment to vendors went out of there. 5,800. I thought that was something that needed flagged. The two deputy clerk is Barb Purdom in payroll, and clerk is Sheila Maple. Both of those came in the last 2 years, and they're top flight professionals. And that, along with Connor, I like what I see there, and I have talked to the finance chair, Tim, and he's told me verbally that he's going to be visiting a little bit and try to make sure we keep things on what we're kind of used to and going from there. And again, just looking at things from a different set of eyes, that's never a bad thing. And again, he came from the courts, and they graciously allowed him to come here for 4 months before he took that job. So I want to say thank you to the courts and thank you to him, because he didn't have to do that. And then Sue Ellen didn't have to do that. And I believe Sue Ellen's thing's this Friday. I'll probably see some of you guys around there for that. Every one of these retirements are different, but that's still ongoing, and she's somewhere in Amish country probably as we speak. Next up, we have Treasurer Mike Sikora. When he came on, I'm just going to give it to you straight up. You know, he brought in some investment opportunities and a different way of looking at things. And I had 2 years, years 5 and 6, where we only got $50,000 to $70,000 in interest because the world was changing at a bad situation. And this last year, we got $600,000. That figure alone, by investing and watching, and our financial board gets together, and that's the law director, myself, Sue Ellen, which will be Connor, and him. And that's Mike. And that's been huge. And that's the difference between really struggling and being able to add that employee in the park and add that employee at the cemetery and keep them there. Now, I say all that, and we never know what we don't know. 2 years from now, we might be staring at an abyss or something. But for now, we're standing on decent ground. But we have union negotiations coming up, and we got things to take care of. And we're aware of some things. And this ambulance thing's no small potatoes either. We did pass a levy, but those things I've seen from past action, they'll get you a certain point, and then they come to pop anyhow. So, and that's just how it works. Dedicated staff, Tara Church and Brandy Henkel, and then Sue Messino works part-time in there. And that's big because Mike's running back and forth and all over the place. But again, his numbers and what he brings to the table to look at, I really appreciate that. I just want to take a moment to say that. Next up, in theory, is the law director, which is supposed to be the law director, and I kidded Bill, and he said I can handle that tonight. But what I'm going to handle is he put a nice report together, and I'm just going to tell you from my eyes, or what's left of him anyhow, he's a Johnny on the spot everywhere. Now, we kid each other because we do spread him really thick, and he'll be 2 days getting back to you sometimes. And then other days, he's a fire and a brimstone. He's running all over the place. But he's a big part of giving my advice and keeping a lid on some things, and I truly appreciate that. He's a veteran, been around a while. So him and Sharon's going to fight it out to see who can serve the longest here, I think. Sue Ellen already threw in the towel. But,
Year 40 coming up for me in July.
yeah, that's big stuff. I read about the tree commission. Again, we increased the body on that. That organization, when we had Tree City USA at Cambridge this last year, and outside towns come here, we are the poster child for how to do that. That's huge. I get that question truly asked to me all the time. How do we keep things as clean as we do? Which sometimes to us, we're like, it ain't clean enough. I get all that. But sometimes you've got to back it up a little bit because that's how they choose to little bit live, and that's their business. As long as they don't spill out in the street or our porches, I get all that. But the trees, when I came down First Street the other day and seen them empty lots and saw them trees, it just felt like someone cared. And that's what I got out of it. Now, I don't know if somebody else called in and was mad because the leaves are going to blow in their yard. And I said, well, it's gonna be a few years for that big amount of leaves come there, and by that time, I ain't trying to be mean, but chances are they may not be there for all that anyhow, but we don't know. Well, we don't know. But I know this, when trees do mature and rot and fall apart, we gotta get in behind them, in Clark Street and Oakland Boulevard, and go out there to the cemetery, go in, hit that road, hang a left. Tell me what you think about that. I mean, because that's, man, that just resonates. Those people laying out there don't say a whole lot, but they're glad we're still standing behind them. So, okay, that's all. I'm gonna quit blabbering here for a while, but you don't know what I went through all day to get to this point. I still got one last thing with you, though. You ain't leaving yet.
One thing that the mayor forgot to mention is if anyone that's watching or listening would like a copy of the year-end report, you can just stop in my office and we'll make sure that you get a hard copy of that.
I actually did write a little thing on this pad. In closing, very positive, yearly strong, but continue to be cautious as we look to the future and vigilant of some of our world and safety. And I'm not trying to throw things to stir anybody up, but some of the challenges, there's three that I think of that could hit us. This marijuana law change, we need to look at that a little bit different. I'm not sure exactly how that works. I know Sharon was studying some things on the computer. Bill, our law director's been looking at some things. We voted not, some things in the past. The homeless thing continues to be strong out there, and that's not something anyone can be proud of. They're moving through. We're not suffering like a lot of towns are. But if for some reason, and I'll just throw this out, what if one of them buses pulled up and 50 people just got out and all of a sudden arrived? I mean, there's some strange things going on out there. So we need to stay tuned and support our nonprofits. And thank goodness we have strong people willing to serve in Salvation Army. And I want to thank the Hollins is down on First Street. But with that said, it's ongoing.
Okay.
But thanks, Sharon, on that other thing.
I'm certainly glad you gave the short version.
That wasn't bad.
No, it
No,
wasn't
you
bad.
did great.
I'm
I s-
kidding, just kidding.
Because I,
Okay.
Any questions of the mayor? Okay, we're going to go on with the rest of our business and come back to the executive session. Okay, communications.
I have two insurance checks that I need to have appropriated. These came in at the end of the year. One of them is every year from our public entities insurance pool, we get $1,000 to go to one of the safety forces. This year's appropriation will go to fire. And then I have a reimbursement check for a vehicle that we sold that came to a refund to the city. So I just need those to go to finance.
Mr. Rancho,
Motion to refer to Finance Committee.
Mr. Loffman.
Second the motion.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion's granted. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, we'll go to no reports of committees, so we'll go to unfinished business. Nothing? The audience portion?
I'm sorry, I should have put this under unfinished business.
Okay.
We are required to review our rules of council at the beginning of each term, and we haven't done that. Well, the last time we did it, there were no changes, but I was reviewing them a couple weeks ago, and there are several things that need to be changed, so that would need to be referred to the legislative committee to review the council rules and regulations.
Okay, Mr. Loffman,
Motion to refer to the legislative committee.
Mr. McMillan.
Second the motion?
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion is granted. Anything else?
No.
Okay, now we'll go to the audience portion. There's nothing there. So we'll go to new business. Anything under new business? If not, ordinances and resolutions, there are none for this evening. So miscellaneous, Mr. Rancho.
Yes, sir. The Finance Committee will meet, since next Monday is Martin Luther King holiday, we will meet Tuesday on the 16th at 4:30 here in the chamber.
Okay, Ms. Hill?
Will legislative need to meet to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Legislative committee will meet at 4:45 or immediately following finance.
Okay, and committee as a whole will meet at 4:50.
Oh, it'll take longer than that to do the rules.
Or
Darn.
immediately
You're
following.
killing me.
Sorry. Trying to make that 5 at least.
All right, 5 o'clock or immediately thereafter, legislative. Anything else on the miscellaneous? Mr. Loughlin?
Just wanted to welcome Councilman Mauer to City Council. Congratulations on your win, and this is just the beginning.
I can't wait.
Yeah, we had an enjoyable meeting with him for the orientation part of it. So again, from my part of it, Steve, welcome. Anybody else? Ms. McMillan?
I move that we go into executive session to discuss personnel, specifically the dismissal of a public employee.
Mr. Wolverton?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor of the
I
motion?
think you have to do roll call.
My fault. Roll call.
Evancho.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Laufman.
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
Mauer.
Yes.
Wolverton.
Yes.
Zaleski.
Yes.
Okay, so we are in executive session.
Nope, go home and get dinner ready.
No, don't go home.
No.